Well, the Columbus Crew are your 2020 MLS Cup champions, as we'll discuss their victory over Seattle from this past weekend. The MLS expansion draft also goes down tonight at 6 p.m. MLS greatest 25 players were also announced this past week. And of course, we'll be joined by Toronto FC legend and the executive director for Black Players for Change, Justin Morrow. Welcome
Woohoo!
back to another edition of Wake in the Red Weekly presented by Footy Talks. It's going to be a massive edition. We have a lot to get to, but first, let me introduce my co-host today, editor at Wake in the Red, Jeff. Jeff, how you doing?
I'm good. We're missing Mitch, and I think it deserves an explanation. He really got the hairdryer treatment from us for all of those tactical fouls, and the yellow card of the accumulation was coming. I mean, he knew it, and we tried to warn him, but unfortunately, that man is way too headstrong.
Discipline issues for sure.
Absolutely.
If you guys haven't noticed, Mitch isn't here. I'm sure you guys didn't notice whatsoever. So this is our first episode. We're episode 23 now. It's the first time we're going to be running without Mitch, so it'll be a little bit of a change here. So bear with us. Jeff and I's first time taking the lead here. So without further ado, we're still super excited with everything that we got to get to. And first, let's talk about the MLS Cup from this past weekend. What a game! The Columbus Crew, obviously.
Game! Oh my goodness!
Crew obviously come away with a 3-0 victory over the Seattle Sounders. From a TFC perspective, how sweet was that, Jeff?
It's interesting. Seattle has a problem with big games. They don't necessarily play very well in them.
Elaborate. Because I remember big games and we weren't on the winning side of them.
No, but I mean, 2016 came down to penalty kicks and that one ridiculous save. 2019 came down to a horrible twist of a horrible turn of luck, that own goal that undid us. Maybe it's not big games. Maybe it's just MLS Cups, but they got played off the field in that game. I think my biggest takeaway was Tim Bezbatchenko can recruit, man. He can recruit those number 10s. Holy crap.
That's pretty decent. I saw KJ tweet after that match, and KJ said, when TFC missed the playoffs in 2014, Tim Bezbatchenko went out there and he got Sebastian Giovinco as their number 10. When the Columbus Crew missed the playoffs last season, 2019, of course, they got Lucas Zelleran as their number 10. We all saw what he did in the MLS Cup final. You were kind of alluding to it there, but that 3-0 result, that was probably the sweetest thing that from a Toronto FC fan that we could have witnessed, wasn't it, Jeff?
I have a soft spot for Seattle. I'm gonna own up to it. I mean, I enjoyed losing to them, and I appreciate what they've been able to accomplish over the last bunch of years, and the fact that it's a team by committee, I also really appreciate. And I played a mock MLS Cup on FIFA last night, and oh my God, is Jordan Morris fast?
Is that FIFA 21?
Oh, yeah. He undressed me. I mean, I could not catch up to him.
So you're playing against a computer and you're getting danced like that?
Oh, yeah, I got danced. But I upped the difficulty level to something that I'm not
That's fair. That's fair.
So, yeah.
But yeah, that MLS Cup obviously mentioned Tim Bezbatchenko walking away with his second MLS Cup there. Does that put a little bit extra pressure on Ali Curtis, perhaps, or are they just mutually exclusive now at this point?
It has to. You always have to measure yourself up against the other competitors on the field, and the fact that Bez was the outgoing GM leading up to Ali's tenure has to play a part. Absolutely. You have to measure yourself against the other competitors. So I think it does. They're very different GMs, at least on paper. And the case could be made that Ali finally gets to run the ship in the way that he'd prefer now that there's been the shakeup in TFC land. But yeah, it definitely puts
for sure.
impetus. Absolutely.
For sure. It's going to be a big off season for Toronto FC. And of course, yesterday the league released the MLS expansion draft eligible player list. So the players that were, they're allowed to be taken by Austin FC tonight. Austin's going to be the 27th club to join MLS. The draft goes down at 6 p.m. Eastern tonight. You guys can stream that online. From a Toronto FC perspective, here are the list of names. They got 9 names that are available for selection. You got Lawrence Sima, Subasa Endo, Tony Gallagher, Erickson Gallardo, Justin Morrow, Patrick Mullins, Pablo Piatti, Kevin Silva, and Eric Zavaleta. Jeff, is there a name on that list that stands out to you?
Yes, but I've been enjoying your deep dive into why this is such a strong list with respect to where everybody's at in terms of their negotiations, in terms of their availability, in terms of what hoops Austin would have to jump through if they selected them. So I think I'd like to hear you explain that to all our viewers and listeners, because it's quite insightful. This list is quite tactical, and there are a lot of tactical wrinkles to the list that I think are important that we all understand.
For sure. Please, if I miss anything, feel free to chime
Absolutely.
in. But the first and foremost, let's talk about the obvious, which are the free agents that are on the list. The upcoming free agents. It's Justin Morrow, Eric Zavaleta, Laurent Simon, and Pablo Piatti, of course.
No, Pablo Piatti.
So let's just get it out of the way. If Austin does decide to elect and choose one of those four players, they're in the same position TFC is right now with them.
Exactly.
And they would have to negotiate a new deal with them. It doesn't automatically guarantee that they're going to be joining that team. So it's obvious that TFC and TFC's management would exclude or not protect those four players. So that already narrows that down. Lawrence, I think I remember mentioning that Laurent Simon was in that list.
Yes, you did.
Tony Gallagher also in that list.
Yeah,
Tony Gallagher, he's gone. So
exactly.
What essentially Boston drafts Tony Gallagher, they're drafting his MLS rights if he were to ever return in MLS.
Which they're not going to do. I mean, never say never. We've all seen what Cincinnati did with their expansion draft, but let's
exactly. He's a Liverpool player. There's no guarantee he returns to MLS. It'd be kind of silly for them to use one of their 5 picks on Tony Gallagher. So that kind of leaves us with Patrick Mullins, Kevin Silva, and Tsubasa Endo, and of course Erickson Gallardo, who I'm sure, Jeff, you were just itching to talk about there. The one that stands out to me is obviously Tsubasa Endo. And I think that'll be the most valuable pick that I think another team can make right now, just because of his salary budget and what he can bring to an MLS club. I think he's 27 now, and Tsubasa Endo is a quality player off the bench. So I think if for an expansion side starting up, he's a valuable piece. And if there's one asset I don't even want to say worried, but
no, stay worried. I think
I'm not worried. Like if we lose Tsubasa Endo, I'm happy he's getting 50K in GAM. So I'm not really worried about it. So credit to TFC management for again setting this expansion draft up. It's one of the first times I think in a couple of years where TFC don't have to be worried about really who they're going to lose in this expansion draft, because there's not really that many, assets that they can lose. Like we have a little bit of PTSD from Raheem Edwards when he was taken from us in
the day after the parade, which was or like during the parade. I think he had to go pack. I mean, listen, there's a now outdated Austin news article where they were pimping Bono, but that was before Alex Bono was off the list.
And that's a no-brainer. I think a lot of people before were saying that TFC should expose Bono because he's a backup goalie. He makes a lot of money. But let's just get this out of the way. Alex Bono has a lot of currency in MLS.
Yeah, he's a trade chip. Absolutely.
As a backup goalie in Toronto, making that much money, of course, like he's not being maximized. His money's not being maximized on this roster. There are better ways you can spend this money when you have Quentin Westberg. Around MLS, however, Alex Bono at 26 years old, he's someone who's very appealing to most, if not every other MLS club out there. So for them to expose Alex Bono for free and lose him for free, that's not right.
No so
obviously they did the right thing there in protecting him. They protected Josie Altidore as well, which is, something we can get into a little bit, but it's a mute conversation. If he did have a no trade clause, they would have had to protect him.
Yeah, exactly.
But hypothetically speaking, if he didn't have a no trade clause, I was actually making the argument earlier that they should potentially even leave Josie Altidore exposed to protect an extra player like a Tsubasa Endo. The reason being is because
no one's going to touch him.
Yeah, an expansion side taking Josie Altidore's contract in the middle of a pandemic, that's very unlikely. And let's say they do take Altidore's contract, it frees up a DP spot for TFC. I got to say that's a little bit of a win-win there. What are your thoughts there, Jeff?
Well, I mean, I was discussing this with Sophia before you came on pre-show, and I said I wanted to see Josie there. But again, it precluding that there's a no trade clause or whatever,
right,
precludes him from being on the list, just simply for those reasons, because it's a pick that no one's going to take. And like you said, swapping Josie for Tsubasa basically means that this is a pretty bulletproof expansion list that no one's going to touch with a 10-foot pole.
That's the thing.
You know what I mean? Tsubasa is an attractive option there, and I wouldn't be surprised if Austin takes him. And unlike you, I do think he's a good depth piece. He understands the system as much as that matters anymore, considering we're about to overhaul the system. So, you know, like you said, this is an expansion list that fills me with the least amount of dread out of all the expansion lists of recent memories. So I really can't complain.
Just quickly on that Tsubasa note, I think he's a valuable depth piece for any MLS club. The reason why I have a problem with Tsubasa getting the minutes that he does is because of the players that are behind him and the amount of wingers, young, talented wingers that we have coming up that aren't seeing minutes because, you know, instead we're relying on our veterans like Tsubasa Endo. And for me, that's a safe bet. It's especially with, you know, the pedigree of players that we have coming up, that the ceilings are way higher for these players. So that was the reason, the bone that I picked with Tsubasa on this squad. Again, there's no guarantee that the next Toronto FC coach uses him in that way, but Tsubasa Endo, I wouldn't be surprised. The Athletics in their mock draft, they chose Tsubasa Endo to go to Austin. So I wouldn't be surprised.
Flying colors. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. Do we need to outline the protected players, or is it just simply a process of elimination for everybody?
Yeah, I think let's call it a process of information. If you guys do want that list, you can head to wakeinthered.com, obviously, and you guys can find that full list there. But let's move on to the next topic I have here on the agenda, and it's I don't even know how to open this topic, but over the past week, I guess Jordan Huitema and Alphonso Davies, they were subject to some pretty significant racial abuse and just disgusting abuse on their Jordan Huitema's Instagram profile, where, you know, a bunch of people decided to go make racist comments, just, again, disgusting comments on
absolutely disgusting,
on her profile, picture of her and Fonzie. And like, what are you thinking coming after Canada's golden children like that? Come on. I'm happy that this got turned into something bigger, because what Jordan Huitema did is she screenshotted some of those comments that you saw. She posted it on her Instagram story, and, you know, she just backed up everything that we've been preaching here, and just that we got to say no to racism, man. It's I don't even know how to get into it even further, because it should be so straightforward. Like, why are people out there?
It should be, but, you know, everybody's got way too much free time on their hands. You know, Americans are living through an epochal moment where the center is not holding and it's just all gibberish. You know, the internet promises a level of anonymity that allows people to exercise, you know, their deepest demons, consequence free.
To Fonzie and Jordan Huitema, of all people.
Yeah, listen, I think it's abhorrent, and you know, it's ridiculous, but I don't even want to say a but, because I don't want to actually rationalize any excuses for these assholes. Beyond the fact that it's the internet, and we all know that it's the wild, wild west of complete insanity. And now that, you know, we're dealing with QAnon and all this other garbage, you know, people are emboldened, and credit to the two of them for meeting it head on, for owning their place in the narrative, and enlightening us on what kind of absolute garbage that people in a public context receive in this day and age.
Yeah, no, well said. And Canada Soccer, they issued a response. They said, Canada Soccer stands firm against racism and discrimination of any kind, both in the game and within all of our communities around the world. We are both disappointed and appalled with the hateful comments recently made to members of our national teams through social media. Share love, not hate, and work together for a better world. # no to racism.
Absolutely.
Again, that sums it all up perfectly there. I don't want to spend too much on this topic.
Yeah, I don't want to give those assholes any more power than they tried to take for themselves. You know what I mean? Been there, done that. You're parroting old tropes that are meaningless, and read a goddamn book.
Exactly.
Enough of you.
All right. Let's move on. It's enough angry Jeff. Let's talk about the MLS greatest 25 players list that was released. I think it was last week, after a show, obviously. And on there's 2 former Toronto FC players, and that's Dwayne De Rosario and Sebastian Javenko. Of course, there's a couple other names that are familiar to Toronto FC land. They had Preke on there. They had that made Jeff chuckle for sure. They had Robin Fraser on there. But Jeff, what did you make of the list overall?
It's a listicle. I mean, Nacho Piatti not being on there is kind of criminal. There were a few other omissions, but Montreal didn't get a single player on that list. And there were some choices. I mean, I don't understand the list. Is it quality of play, or was it impact on the league in terms of attracting eyeballs? I mean, Beckham deserves his statue outside of Old Trafford, but I'm not necessarily sure he deserves one outside of Century Children's Mercy Park or wherever the hell they play out of. And there were a lot of that. It was a weirdo split between players that were good for marketing and players that were successful on the field. And then to compound that, it looked, TFC got 2, although D-Rose sort of was a journeyman and played for a bunch of other clubs. And then Montreal get none. So
sounds good to me.
Well, Nacho Piatti was a hell of a player and a huge impact.
He was the OG Piatti.
Exactly. So it's difficult to see it as definitive. It's a listicle,
T-Rose solidified his place on that list with his legendary performance on WTR Weekly.
They called me and they said, it's between D-Ro and a bunch of other people. What sell D-Ro to us? And I said, well, the headphones. He sells headphones, and that brings him right over the top. Sold. All
right. Without further ado, guys, we got our guests ready here to join
us. Oh wow.
It is, of course, Toronto FC, or can I say former Toronto FC? Toronto FC fullback Justin Morrow. He is obviously the executive director for Black Players for Change. Justin, thank you for joining us.
Oh my God, Justin.
What's up, guys? How are we doing today? Doing all right?
We're doing all right.
Doing all right. Yeah.
When I reached out to you, Justin, I'll be honest, I kind of set a future date out there. I wasn't expecting you to kind of turn around and say, next week, let's do this. But why did you want to do this so quickly with us?
Well, quite honestly, it's one of the first complete off season that I'm going to be spending here in Toronto. My wife is from South America, so usually we flock south for the winter time and stay with her family this time of the year. But our kids are in school here. With COVID, we just decided it would be better to stay safe. Everyone's doing such an amazing job of trying to stop the spread of this thing and really looking out for our community here. So we wanted to take part in that and stay here. And that being said, I got a lot of time on my hands here during the weekdays. So I was like, yeah, let's do it.
Of course, man.
Awesome. We're very happy. Yeah, exactly. We're very happy.
Yeah, we appreciate you taking the time. Obviously, Justin, you were, I mentioned off the top there, but you were the executive director for Black Players for Change. And they obviously became the first group in 20 years to be awarded the MLS Humanitarian of the Year award. You've spoken to lengths about what you've done with that committee and all the positive work that you've done. But here's my question. When I was filling out my ballot, there wasn't an option for Black Players for Change. There was an option for Justin Morrow, which, I mean, that's what I voted for. And I'm sure the majority of people voted for Justin Morrow. So how did that change happen? How did the award all of a sudden go to Black Players for Change?
I think the league recognized that all of our successes was due to our collective voice and this historic thing of all the players stepping up. On every single interview I do, I talk about the effort that's gone into this thing, right, from every side, from every single player. And quite honestly, the organization is the group of players, and that's why it's so special. It's completely player led. We move the organization by what the group thinks, and we do it together. And so I myself am executive director, but all I do is try and lead the group to what they want and make those ideas, actually happen. And those guys are the ones that come up with the ideas, and they've been great ideas, and we've been able to accomplish a lot, but only because we've had the buy-in from the group. That's really where our power comes from, and the league recognized that.
Awesome. Speaking of buy-in, How important was it to have a club like TFC that stood behind you as you became a leader for pushing for this very necessary change?
Yeah, that's been really special. I mean, there are so many reasons why I love being a part of this organization, but their commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion is just another one. And they've kept that at the forefront of their organization, whether that be in their hires. You can see that with Masai and Pinball, Ali. They've hired a D&I role at Maple Leaf Sports Entertainment. This is very important to Mr. Tannenbaum. You know, I've spoken to him. I've had the pleasure of speaking to him about it this year, and he's expressed how much this means to him. So it's really good to be a part of the organization that cares about this, that goes above and beyond just saying things, because we've seen that from a lot of different clubs, a lot of different organizations putting out, the social media posts and whatnot, but not actually following up on anything. They follow that through with hires. They follow it through with a beautiful marketing campaign that raised some funds for us to be able to complete some initiatives and programming in Toronto. Yeah, you got it right there. You're rocking it.
Of course.
And the fans, the fans have been behind us as well, and that's been really special. Mike Newell and the TFC BIPOC Coalition have done an incredible job of organizing and showing how important it is to our fans that this is at the top of the list as well. And I've been able to have, through so many years here, a really good relationship with a lot of different fans, whether it's Youth Sector, Red Patch Boys, Inebriati, Brad Humber. I've been in touch with all of these guys, and they've all echoed support, and that's been really special as a player as well, because you see things like what happened in Dallas when the fans are booing them. It's not fun to be a player when this stuff means so much to you and your fans don't support you. So I really appreciate all sides of this organization, the fans and the club.
Right. And Justin, we know here that you don't like talking about yourself too much, obviously. But I asked Michael Bradley and I asked Chris Mavinga about your sort of impact on behind the scenes, and they were really in awe of what you were able to do. Not only behind the scenes, but also balancing your soccer life and everything that's going on. How difficult was that this year in 2020?
It was extremely difficult. I think it's really hard to encapsulate when I'm doing an interview, because there was just so many heavy moments, so many nights where I wasn't really sleeping, and I was having a hard time balancing it. But what I would say is I got support from the club. I got support from the fans. I got support from my family. And that's really what pushed me through. I accomplished those things with a group of other guys as well. So I had a good team behind me. And it was tough. It was a life-changing year for me, everything that I had gone through and stepping up into this role. It really was taking on a whole another thing that I had never dreamed of. And so in that instance, it's a year that I'll never forget, all the things that I've gone through. And it's really momentous for me.
Cool. Okay, I'm switching gears here. It's been a while, but I hear you have one of the more memorable / wild stories of when you were traded to Toronto back in 2014. Do you mind recounting it for our viewers and listeners?
That's a good one. Yeah. I heard this one.
Yeah. A lot of people I've told this numerous times, but I'm happy to tell it again because it's we're in such a different place than back then. So at the end of 2013, I got traded, and I mentioned my wife is from South America. We were having our wedding in December. Our anniversary was yesterday, actually.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So we were preparing for the wedding the day before the wedding. And when I go down there, I turn my phone off, but I have, texts, emails and whatnot. So I got an email from my GM that just said, "Justin, call me as soon as you get this so we can speak." And when I got that, I knew right away that I had been traded somewhere. Right. And so I'm like, oh, wow. Okay. So I call him back and told me that I'd been traded to Toronto. And I was stunned. Toronto had just come off some really bad years. And I was quickly hopping on the phone with my agent. This is a day before my wedding. So I'm figuring out, what do I tell my wife? Hopping on the phone with my agent, freaking out. But I think a week later, it was announced that we signed Michael Bradley and Jermaine Defoe.
There you go.
And
that makes things a bit easier.
That calmed my nerves a little bit. And then we did our honeymoon, went back to San Jose, packed up all of our stuff, and headed out to Toronto. We stayed downtown, and February is the most freezing month here in Toronto. It's freezing cold.
I'll
I remember
pretend that I'm not taking it as a slight because I'm a February baby, but that's fine.
I just remember trying to find somewhere to live at that time, and you're
God,
different areas, and it's frigid. You know,
there's no curb appeal when you're looking at snowbanks. So.
Justin's coming up from
more than
San
5
Jose.
minutes outside.
San Jose in South America, and he has to come in to find a place in the middle of winter. You love to see it, Justin. But obviously, things have worked out, and 6 years later, 7 years later, almost, you're looking back, and you're over 200 appearances for the club. Obviously, an MLS Cup. When you look back at Toronto FC right now, obviously it might not be the end, but when you look back right now, what do you think of?
I'm just really proud how far this club has gone. I have a unique relationship with the fans, just because it's been a long time, everything that we've gone through. My daughters were born here, and so I've established all these different connections in different ways, right? And I always think it's really special for the fans that have been here since the beginning. Yeah. That went through all of those really difficult years. Went through more difficult years from when I got here. 2014 and 2015 weren't easy. They were, we had some successes, but we also had some tough ones in there.
Well, we refer to those as the good days, Justin. We refer to those as the good days, as you point out.
I mean, watching Seba just clown everybody in the league for a solid year was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that felt good. I know. And so I think back on those days, and I'm so happy for the fans and what we've accomplished. And I'm really just concerned with keeping the club at the top echelon, Right. That's so important to me. I would take so much pride in having helped turn this thing around. And I continue to want to be a part of it and want to keep Toronto FC at the top of Major League Soccer.
Of course. And I think you kind of segued it there perfectly, Justin. I'll ask you, how are things going there with Toronto FC and those discussions? And is this the first time that you're potentially going to become a free agent?
Yeah, things are going well. My expectation, my plan is to be here with Toronto FC. I've expressed that to the club, and they've expressed that as well. I want to finish out my career here playing in front of the fans that have given me so much, and we've shared this beautiful thing together. And like I said, my mind is on keeping Toronto FC at the top of the league.
Music to our ears, Justin.
Yeah,
with all the work that you put in off the field, I think I speak for all TFC fans when I say that we would welcome you back with open arms. It'd be, a joy to see you back in a Reds uniform. So we're hoping that things can come to fruition there.
You're trailing off there, and he probably thinks that he's done. But we've still got a fast money round, and I
we still got a little bit for you, Justin, before you go.
So Justin, you've had two coaches since you arrived in Toronto. I mean, you had what was it, Ryan Nelson for half a second, and then Greg Vanney for the duration. What was your reaction to the news of Greg's departure, and how did he impact your career?
First, my reaction was surprised. When I look back, I think that I should have saw it coming more than I did. I think the signs were on the wall just because of the way he was carrying himself, and I could tell when I look back on it that he was drained a little bit.
Wow.
Emotionally from everything that we've gone through. And when I spoke to him, I completely understood. We've gone through a lot here, and like you said, he sees everything in experiences and adventures, and so for him, it's time for the next one, and that's sports. Sports change is constant. We've been lucky here. We've had a special thing here to have so much consistency, but that's not always the case. So I'm really happy for him. He has had the biggest impact on my career out of anyone. He found a way to get me playing my best soccer ever, and that's a special thing. That's what every athlete wants. They want the opportunity to win trophies, and they want to become the best that they could possibly be. And he got me there, and along the way, he changed my understanding of the game. You know, he's a great teacher. He taught me so much about the game in terms of tactics, and really opened up my mind in that sense. And so now, when I continue playing, when I'm done playing, I'll forever look at the game and enjoy the game differently because of Greg Vanney.
That is one hell of an answer, and I also really like. Well, I like hearing that it's always a learning experience, that you're still always learning. Do you know what I mean? That you're never an old dog that you can't teach new tricks to, because the game evolves, right? And if you're not open to that evolution, then you're going to get sort of left standing in the dust. So I super like that.
JMO, you ended the season there, obviously battling a couple little injuries, little knocks, but honestly, for the most part of your career, you've managed to stay in fantastic shape. You're very, very healthy. 26 out of 28 appearances, I believe it was in 2019. 26 out of 28 starts, actually. Let me correct myself. 15 appearances in 2020.
And a certain Eric clapback when that guy said that JMO was out of shape.
I was getting there. JMO, you definitely saw that picture on Instagram that Eric G put out, or on Twitter that Eric G put out, where you're absolutely shredded there.
Oh my God.
You're a personal trainer, right?
I have my license. Yeah, I did that. I did that 1 year when we were going into CBA negotiations, and we thought, it might be on strike. We and I have it work here for a little bit. Let me find something else that I can do. So I studied up for a couple months and got my license.
I guess my point was that you put an emphasis on the way that you take care of your body, and clearly that was evident in Eric G's picture. How are you feeling now? You're 33 years old, and how are you feeling now? And what do you think? What kind of juice that you think you have left in the tank? Because Ali Curtis certainly thinks you have juice left in the tank from speaking to him.
Yeah, I feel good. I really felt like the injuries this year were a product of the year. You know, they were a product of everything that we were going through emotionally. And then on top of that, all the games squeezed together, playing back to back like that, flying back to Toronto, flying back. You know, there was a lot of factors. And I think it was mostly because of how the year changed for us. On top of it, anytime a professional athlete goes through a life-changing event like I did this year, taking on this role and stepping up into this leadership position, usually your form declines or you have some type of injuries. And I think that was, a little bit of what happened this year. And I think it was all a lot. And I think I'm finding right now the balance of how to handle this thing properly, and I feel strong physically, and I do feel like I have a lot left to give.
Absolutely. How different was it to play on the pitch in East Hartford versus BMO Field? I mean, we were told that they did their best to sort of make it somewhat the same, but I guess it really wasn't. Was it a tougher pitch to play on? Did you get tired more often?
It was tough without the fans. It really felt going in to the playoffs like we were really missing that home field advantage.
Yeah,
I think it really showed towards the end of the season. We have one of the biggest home field advantages all in Major League Soccer, so to miss that, it felt really strange, especially having been here so many years, knowing the boost that the fans give us and all of these special moments that we've shared together at BMO. We missed that. We missed that a lot, and I think all of us are desperate to get back in front of the fans in 2021. So let's all hope that that can go the right way.
Must have sucked for Tony G. I mean, he's in and out, and he'd never played a proper game at BMO with all the fans.
He didn't even step foot, he said.
Yeah,
he didn't step foot in BMO.
No, Pablo never played in front of the fans in Toronto either.
Oh, he scored his first screamer though at BMO Field in front of no fans, but. I was there. I was there in the press box, and that was something special.
You can't say no fans. There were 50 people at the food building causing a ruckus. So
yeah.
Oh yeah. You could hear them clear as day in that stadium too. I'm sure Justin.
It was. They added something special last night. I remember that.
Yeah. It was super awesome. Are we gonna go to Fast Money now?
Let's do it. So Justin, the point of this is I'm sure you've done it before, but we're gonna ask you a couple of quick questions. So we want you to sort of respond without thinking. Since we're in Toronto, we'll keep it at 6 questions for the 6. So
Oh, I didn't even notice that, Mike. That was real smart.
Jeff, let me tell you, I'm creative.
Yeah. There you go.
All right, Jeff, why don't you start us off?
What is your favorite thing about living in Toronto?
The people.
What's your preferred local Toronto restaurant?
Carmen on Queen Street.
Ooh. What was your favorite TFC kit to wear?
The white kit with the red stripe.
Blue shorts?
Blue shorts.
Yeah. Wow.
Interesting.
Wow, that's almost the Montreal.
I know
kit.
it's not a fan favorite, but
no, it ain't. But now we're all gonna get one with Morrow on it because
was the red stripe that we won championship in 2017.
I'm really partial to this training kit I just picked up. I'm a big fan.
It looks good on you.
Thank you, buddy. Thank you.
What's your least favorite TFC kit?
The Onyx that we wore.
Oh my god!
Here in 2014.
Wow.
Okay, I appreciate that it's like a sausage casing and that it didn't look very comfortable to wear, but that kit is dope, Justin.
Okay, hold on.
Right.
Justin Morrow just announced that he wants to spend the rest of his career in Toronto, but the biggest news on this episode might be the fact that Justin Morrow hates the Onyx kit.
I don't. Have you polled the players on that? It wasn't popular with the players.
It wasn't popular.
No. Right? You're our first one, but you'll break my soul if that's the actual truth.
That's the truth. I know
that's
fans
interesting.
like it, though.
That's a huge disconnect between the fans because that is the kit, my friend.
We're kind of straying away from fast money here, but
no. I want to talk about the Onyx kit.
What did you think of the Unity
years.
kit this year?
I liked it.
You liked the Unity kit?
Yeah.
Okay.
That felt.
Yeah,
so
so
good.
did I.
It felt good. It felt good on too. Like it's new materials and everything. It's nice.
I can't figure out what size I am in it. I honestly can't. Like I must be in between or something because it's either a dress or it's a
just buy 2. It's no problem. Buy 2.
Yeah. We all don't make that. We all don't make that JMO money, my friend. So
we're not making that JMO free agency money.
Yeah, we're
send me your address afterwards. I'll send you one.
Holy shit! Oh, whoops! I just swore. Here's my question.
Let's go back to fast money.
Okay. Have you ever played as yourself in FIFA? And is there a rule against doing it? Is that considered a foul in the locker room?
No and no.
Okay.
I haven't ever played FIFA with myself, and no, there's no rules.
Are you a FIFA guy?
I'm not a video game guy. To
Not
be honest.
Okay.
If I was playing a video game, it would be FIFA, but I just don't play video games.
That's fine.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be cool to know that you can spool up and play as yourself in a video game. That's got to be.
Yeah. Like for my young cousins, if I ever don't know what to give them for Christmas, I just send them FIFA.
Sweet.
Like, here,
I guess you were kind of busy this year.
Yeah.
You couldn't really focus on video games, eh?
Yeah.
All right, Jay, the last one. Don't think about this, remember, but first Toronto FC goal to come to mind. Doesn't have to be yours. Remember when I said don't think about it?
I automatically thought of mine, and I thought, okay, should I say mine?
Which one? No, which one?
My goal against San Jose, the diving header.
That was a good one.
It's my favorite goal of my career, and I don't know, when you said that, I thought of it right away.
Of course, no, that was the point. And was it for the moment? Was it the type of goal? Was it because it was against San Jose? Like, why?
Yeah, it was because it was against San Jose, and it was a good goal. San Jose had traded me. It was the first time that I had played against them, and so I felt,
gotta get that.
You got some redemption there.
Yeah. Sweet revenge. I mean, the Hattie against New York Red Bulls is an all-timer. That got us the shield, man. That was a hell of a game, and you were feeling it. You were having yourself a time out there.
Sorry, you're breaking up a little bit.
Oh no, I was just saying. Always remember the hat trick versus the New York Red Bulls. That to get us the shield, and you just look like you couldn't put a boot out of place. Like you were just feeling yourself that game. It was.
I mean, I always say, like, being a part of that 2017 team, I really didn't have to do much. I was so blessed to be on that team because those guys created so many opportunities for all the rest of us. The space that they created on the field, the mismatch that our teams created, it really opened up for a player like me to be able to come in and take advantage and fill the gaps when the team needed it. And on that night, I think that was on full display.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh
I
yeah.
think for those in attendance, you kind of fooled them, and they're expecting Justin Morrow to become like the next TFC goal scorer after that.
Right.
Yeah. Well, he potted a couple more after that. That wasn't.
No, it was definitely was not the end of JMO's success here at Toronto FC. And on that note, Justin, thank you so much for joining us.
Man.
We can't express our gratitude enough. I'm sure Toronto FC fans feel the same. And again, I speak on behalf of all TFC fans, and we hope to see you back in a Reds uniform, hopefully at BMO Field next season.
Yeah, we're just in awe of you, man. This year, just wow. Like, congratulations, and we appreciate the struggle and the hustle, and just wow, man. Seriously.
Yeah. Thank you guys. I appreciate that. I feel that love. I'm trying to give it back. Let's win some more trophies.
Absolutely.
Let's go, JMO.
Excellent to see you, man. We'll talk soon.
All right, guys. You guys take it
Thanks,
easy.
JMO. Perfect. Of course,
that's my day made.
Yeah, of course. That was Justin Morrow, Toronto FC legend, Toronto FC icon, MLS icon, really. And yeah, thank you, Morrow. What I wanted to say is, if there was a award to go out to, how we have the Lou Marsh Award? If there was an award to go out to a single Toronto athlete this year, I think without a doubt, that has to go to Justin Morrow.
Why not Erickson Gallardo?
No, I agree. Come on, Jeff. I agree.
Serious
there.
I agree. I know.
Everything posture. Come on. No, in all seriousness, though.
Yeah.
Give me some names. Like Kyle Lowry's out there. Austin, who? The Blue Jays. Come on. There's no one even close to what Justin Morrow's done.
Well, I mean, this gets back into the Lou Marsh debate we had last week or a few weeks ago. Is it a humanitarian award or a sportsman's award? If there's a TFC humanitarian award or a Toronto Sports MLSE humanitarian award, absolutely.
That's a fair point.
But I mean, we got to be careful because we just dissected that MLS 25 list for being an exercise in marketing.
Okay, but here, how about this? Whoever wins the award as best athlete, there'll be co-winner with Justin Morrow. And there you go. Everyone's happy, right?
Yep. Everyone's happy.
No one's upset about co-winners.
I think, I fall on the side of Justin just said, most MLS clubs were happy to throw out a social media post, give it its lip service, and then get back to the general order of things. I think the real benefit isn't in the awards, it's in the actual tangible change. I think that this, awards are always nice and attract eyeballs and get attention, and you never look a gift horse in the mouth, but the real work is in making the change. And they've been undoubtedly successful in that. And if he was still on here, I don't want to speak for him because he owes me a kit now, but if you asked him, would you rather have awards or, that one, whatever.
No, sorry, continue. If you'd rather have awards
or make real, quantifiable change, I think we all know the answer.
Yeah, no, Ivan was just writing in there and saying MLSE should make JMO his own award for everything he does on and off the field. We wholeheartedly agree with that sentiment.
100%.
Sure, I speak for Jeff there. Hey, maybe when he does retire, because his playing days aren't over, but there should be that award in Toronto FC legacy for Justin Morrow for perhaps a humanitarian of the year for that club. But yeah, again, super happy with Justin and everything that he said when he came on. It's so important, and the work that he did on and off the field cannot be overstated. It can't.
No. And then when you think about it, the other one of his most trusted lieutenants is also Canadian, Mark Anthony Kay. It's a wonderful example of this certain ability that we have as Canadians to kind of have an objective view over and above, which isn't to say that we don't suffer from our own systemic racism, which would be a superbly idiotic statement for me to make. But there is a certain Canadianness to the way that they've approached the situation, and I think that's why it's been so successful in the United States.
Yeah, no, Justin Morrow is exactly. I think I haven't said it there. Justin Morrow is an honorary Canadian.
Yeah.
That those are his values, and that's what he shows. He wears it on his sleeve, and obviously we touched on this last episode, but this organization's the Black Players for Change. They've really only been around for like 6 months, and to see the work that they've been doing, they've they've raised money, they've built mini pitches in New York. If you guys have saw those mini pitches, those are sweet, and I can't wait. I want to ask Justin about getting them here in Toronto one day. But
that'll be your gift. I already have a kid on the way.
He was on the ground though for those openings, and it's for helping lesser privileged people get access to the game, and that's what it's all about, and helping defeat systemic racism and defeat those barriers so everybody has that equal chance to come up and play the sport that we love. And Justin Morrow is at the forefront of that charge. So
someone had to do it. Someone had to say, no, this isn't going to work. Putting a black frame on your Instagram stories for half a day is not going to cut it anymore. You know what I mean?
Right.
And he had to ante up a certain amount of his own reputation by asking this. Like, it wasn't,
of course,
there was a lot to lose. There was a lot to lose. I mean,
we asked him about it, but think about the amount of work that he took on, extra work that he took on in the middle of an MLS season like that. That's incredible.
Listen, you know how easy it would be to get completely drawn into an argument with someone that says, I don't want politics in my sports, because it's absolutely the most oxymoronic statement ever. Sports are a proxy for war. They've always been political. So just to turn around and say that sports can be political is ignoring the whole point of sport in the first damn place. His ability to navigate, all the people that would say no, all the people that would turn it into you're Canadian, or in the case of Mark, you're Canadian, what the hell point do you have to make here? Or you're an athlete, please shut up and play ball. It raises my level of respect tenfold,
right?
Because they were coming into it from a position of vulnerability, and they hit it right out of the park. So I know we're getting asked. Oh, sorry.
Sorry, no, it's really important that we keep having these conversations. And I know some people might even get a little bit even tired of it, but it's really important that we keep pushing. Yeah, exactly. It's really important that we keep pushing, we keep having these conversations, because it's not something that can just be forgotten.
No,
because this is something that should be actively changing. We're still working to change it. Change isn't over. Yeah. So let's just keep on the forefront here. But
we're spending a lot of energy celebrating people that kick a ball around for fun. We can put like 15% of that energy into making the world a better place. I don't think that's too much to ask.
Exactly.
People want to talk about. People want Vanney chat. Post Vanney chat.
Post Vanney chat. Oh.
I've already put this on the record. Neil Warnock to TFC. That's
Neil Warnock to TFC.
Yeah, I'm in it for the banter.
Can you explain that to people who don't understand?
It's pure bants. It's 100% pure bants. It's the worst idea in the world. Because he's the worst. And he would be the worst fit for Toronto ever. So
for the average listener who doesn't know who Neil Warnock is, who's Neil Warnock?
He's been around a lot. He's where is he currently? He's I don't even know. Let's just say he's outspoken. He's very English. Ask a football podcast. A football podcast described him best. They said, if Brexit was a person, it would be Neil Warnock. So you can see why he's good for bands. He's
at Middlesbrough, by the way.
Yeah, the general consensus right now is that it's a 2-horse race between Patrick Vieira and Laurent Blanc. And much smarter people have outlined the pros and the cons for each. Laurent Blanc is a coup and a half. I mean, there's a lot of negatives in the column. Easygoing, are we going to tell him, hey, MLS is not Europe. You can't just go spend your way out of a problem willy-nilly, and is he going to understand? That's probably my biggest worry with someone like Laurent Blanc. It isn't that he hasn't coached a team since 2016. It's that it's very easy to say to somebody that's used to spending their way out of any issue. It's very easy to conflate MLSE has a giant budget for MLS with forgetting the for MLS part, because we're never going to be the club like PSG that just spends its way to a competitive roster.
Of course.
in terms of his pedigree, holy crap! As a player, as a coach, how many trebles did he win in the French leagues? I think that is a direct parallel to the level of MLS, if not a bit higher in the French league. So I have faith that he could lead us to another treble, and I'm not worried about him leading us to CONCACAF glory, even though the reason he got fired at PSG was because his mandate there was to bring them Champions League glory,
right?
And he couldn't.
So here's the one concern I'll address there, and this is what Ali Curtis and Bill Manning were asked this in their end of season presser, and Vanney left, and they were looking for a new coach. They were asked if MLS experience matters,
and they said no because they got it.
So essentially what they said was between Ali Curtis and Bill Manning, the amount of years that they have in MLS, they have that part covered. What they're trying to do now is just find the best possible coach, international, domestic, whatever it is, the best possible coach out there to coach this club. They said they weren't afraid to spend money on the coach.
I don't doubt that they are.
They said that they're treating Toronto like a big club, which, I mean, they should be.
Yeah.
And this is why, these names are the ones that are surfacing in Laurent Blanc and Patrick Vieira. What I kind of question is if those are the only two.
I also question that, but I would say based on the criteria you just outlined, then Laurent Blanc will be a disaster because this guy's nickname is El President, and he is very much a guy that wants to have the control. So if the idea of bringing in a non-MLS experienced coach who's used to spending money is going to be countered by the MLS experience of Ali and Bill, it's a blood feud waiting to happen. So I'm not too enthused about that.
Yeah, I mean, either way, I think you have to give him an interview just because the resume that he has and what he could potentially bring to the table if he does fit in.
Our DP recruitment is through the roof. I mean, my friend Gavin said it best. In the top tier of coaches, he's probably quite next to the bottom, but still in that top tier of coaches. It would be a massive coup, and it would be global news. Vieira is interesting to me because we were his boogie team when he was at NYCFC. So there's got to be a certain amount of ego to come in and coach the team that kind of ruined you in MLS. I just don't know if it's a smart move for him. I mean, sure, it didn't work out at Nice, but him coming back to MLS this early, I see the door to Europe closing unless he comes here and turns us into the Sounders, and so
Ali Curtis had his phone blowing up with the amount of people that were interested in this Toronto FC job.
Neil Warnock,
and I don't think that he was just saying that. I think it's because of the position that Toronto FC are in. This is one of the most attractive coaching jobs, I think, in world football right now.
I don't disagree, and that's amazing.
Not even just MLS. I think world football, Toronto FC's vacant coaching position is one of the most attractive with the future that we have at the club. The amount of youngsters that are coming at the club, the teams that are scouting this club and looking for talent from Toronto FC are the biggest ones in the world. So Toronto FC is on the map. So it could be the perfect setup for a coach wanting to come in because they have the roster for the most part in place. They obviously need to add the designated player, but they have a competitive roster in place. I don't think, looking at on paper right now, I'm confident in saying Toronto FC is going to be at least a playoff team, right? Even without their designated player, I'm confident in saying that. And then you take into account the Jaden Nelsons, the Jaquil Marshall-Rudies, the Iowa Canolas, all the kids that are coming through the academy, and the coach has a chance to work with them too. I think it's just an appealing job for any coach that wants to step up.
I do too, but I'm now 2.5 years into obsessively covering TFC, and I still don't understand MLS roster rules. So, it to me, any European coach is going to see MLSE's operational budget and lick their lips, but then they're going to walk into the job and look at the binder full of reasons why you can't spend money and go, what the hell did I just walk into? You don't think
Laurent Blanc knows what MLS is all about right now?
No.
You don't think he knows that there's a salary cap?
Not a clue.
Come on, man.
No, I'm sorry. Because he didn't have to. He's used to, there's an assumption that all soccer leagues work the same. And even though he can say, oh yeah, I realize that MLS is a different beast, I think there's still going to be a shock to the system whether you like it or not. This guy coached PSG. PSG internationally are a team
No, for sure.
that are
Different
known
calibers.
for what?
I just think he had a clue.
Here's £1 million. No, I don't. I don't
think he's showing up at that Toronto FC interview and being like, "Wait, you guys can't just go out and buy Neymar for me?" Like, I just don't think
I do. I absolutely do. I absolutely do. I absolutely do. You have to think.
All right, we'll agree to disagree there.
I'm sure he'll say all the right things, but the real ironclad knowledge is not there. The frustration, like for example, didn't we have a comment on WTR about Benazé last year? And it was, why didn't we keep Benazé? And something, and something about how it would have.
So essentially, what it was someone was talking about Pablo Piatti, and they were saying, why didn't we just keep Benazé and sign another designated player?
Right. Not understanding that Benazé was TAM and that Mike Bradley had taken all the TAM.
Exactly. You can't just do that.
We would have had to sign him as a DP, which we were never going to do. Right.
Yes, I don't know. I think that's Ali Curtis and Bill Manning's job to worry about that sort of construction. I think,
with a coach that's used to just spending money willy-nilly, that's a huge disconnect.
For sure. That's something they would have to balance out and sort of, kind of smoothing out there. But hey, it's not impossible.
No, nothing's impossible. I mean, Ivan's just saying he'd like to go internal, and I as much as that's a wonderful idea, I think TFC can't. They can't. This has to be a bigger hire than promoting an interim coach, especially considering the outgoing Greg Vanney, who was promoted in-house. I think Jason Bent's deserving to get the keys to the car, but them's the breaks. That's the way the cookie crumbles. This has to be a hire that turns eyeballs. It has to.
It'll be a big name. It'll be a big name.
For better or worse. For better or worse.
Almost on what Ali Curtis and Bill Manning are saying, I think it'll be a big name that, like coaches aren't held under the same parameters as a player on MLS.
They can spend billions if they want to.
They can spend as much as they want to on a coach, and Toronto FC and backed by MLSE, again, being a big club, they can absolutely go ahead and do that. Jeff, I'm sure there's still a bunch that we can get to, but I think we should begin to wrap up here.
If Blanc brought Giroud, that would be the greatest thing ever in the history of all TFC.
Yeah, that opens another can of worms. Thank you to Justin Morrow again for joining us. He was fantastic, and everything that he does there as the executive director for Black Players for Change. Again, the work there is incredible, and we wish Justin the best of luck when doing this upcoming contract negotiations.
Thanks to Mitch for being so busy that he couldn't host, yet riding.
Thanks, Mitch. Totally friends after this one.
You did a great job, Mike. This was fun.
Thanks, Jeff. I appreciate it. And obviously, you helped out a bunch. Again, thank you to our producers, Sophia, Kevin. We wouldn't be able to do this without you guys. I don't know how Mitch usually wraps up the show, Jeff. How does he usually sign us off?
In a heap of word salad. But
does that work? Like, does this work? Is this good enough?
Why don't we ask Mitch, since he's so busy? He's obviously not on. No. I think he says thanks to everyone. My name is Mitch for Jeff and Mike. We will talk to you next Tuesday.
Right,
and then I go cheers. Ciao.